In this YouTube video, we tackle Clone Hydra. And while we're at it, we can teach you how to make so many loons that people will think it's your birthday every single attack. Welcome back to the Clash Tips YouTube channel. Clone Hydra, one of the most OP attacks, really came on the scene about a year ago and was used a lot before Clash Worlds. But anytime you see a bunch of defenses just clumped up in the center like that, you want to go ahead and divide the base into two places. You want to divide it into two halves. Typically, you want to take down one half with your dragons and with your loons, and with your dragon riders and your warden, and then the other half you'll typically want to take down with your heroes, your king and your queen. Sometimes you'll bring your RC in at another location so that way she can path your dragons a certain way or your loons a certain way. But each of these attacks are going to follow a very specific pattern, and this attack is not one to be scoffed at. This attack is definitely something where you can essentially clear out the entire middle and then let your heroes take out the rest of the base. So what can stop this? A king who's going to go versus your AQ, your RC, so you have to protect them. Ground bows, you would think that ground bows would be something you wouldn't have to worry about because this is essentially an air attack, right? And then, of course, the last one would be is if you miss anything in the core. The whole goal with this attack style, with this attack strategy, is that you're getting everything down in the core, from the scatter shots to the Inferno Towers to the Expos. All of that is clumped right there in the middle. And, of course, the most important weapon at Town Hall 14, which is the Town Hall. And then once all of those core defenses go down to all of your loons and all of your dragons, you may still have a few dragons and dragon riders that actually stay up. But most of the time, I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, you're going to clean up the last little bit with your heroes. This next attack done by Rochester and the Good Guys, also known as Trample Damage. Some of you know Trample Damage. He's been on the podcast a ton of times. He's really good at this attack, but he looks at it the exact same way as what I just said. You cut a line through the base that your heroes can go down. You make sure that the other side is funneled, and then you bring your dragons right down the center of that funneled line on each side. I love how he made sure that his king and his queen and his RC didn't just walk down the side. Oftentimes I'll see players who do this attack, they'll just stick their king down the side and he'll just walk outside the walls while being shot down by archer towers and Expos and cannons. But rather than do any of that, he made sure that his heroes were funneled down inside, so that way his dragons would stay together, they would not stray too far, and especially whenever he's using his warden tome, then he can catch as many dragons and dragon riders in that tome as possible. I actually remember watching this attack live, and I remember how scared I was that he was not going to get the town hall. And I asked him afterwards, I said, man, were you nervous that your blimp did not actually take down the town hall, your clone blimp? And he said, nah, because I knew that I had so many dragons and so many dragon riders that were still left up, plus my queen, that it wasn't going to be a problem. That's more OP than me, that's for sure. I would have been worried from the get-go. But also, again, remember that your queen and your RC, especially your queen is typically going to be alive up till the end, and you have to keep her alive, so you have to watch for those ground Expos. It's actually better, in this case, to have air Expos. That way those air Expos will be targeting your dragons and your dragon riders, which are going to be under tome anyway, rather than targeting your queen or your RC. This next attack done by Curly in the Good Guys, and he does the exact same thing. It's the exact same process. You want to cut a line down the middle. You want to funnel your heroes into a section of the base, so that way your dragons are going to path towards the town hall down a direction that you really want them to go. And I love how he passed his king and his queen directly into that eagle. So he's not only going after a high value target such as the eagle, but he's also creating that path, creating that funnel for his dragons to go down. As always, a delayed blimp and a delayed tome. You want to try to put that down in the most opportune spot. Try to get all of your dragons and your dragon riders inside if you can. I love that freeze because that single target Inferno was just going to roast through his blimp. And then right here, you can see that his blimp actually got caught in that tornado trap. Hold on to your blimp if that happens. Do not let it drop. Do not push it down, because the moment that you push it down, then all of your loons will instead get caught in that tornado trap, and everything will just blow up. It won't do as well as if you had just let the blimp itself go through the tornado trap and just waited for it to end. With all of these attacks, the attackers are using 1, 2, or 3 clones. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I put the actual number of clones that the attacker is using on the town hall and around the town hall. but I want you to have a decent idea of how many clone spells are used whenever an attacker is going down on a base and is able to triple that base. Where they're putting those clone spells, as you can see, it can be a little difficult to see because those clone spells are light blue and it kind of blends into the background. But something else to remember with those clone spells is loons won't just magically appear in them. You actually have to put it in a place where your loons are going to travel. This next attack again, trample damage under his Rochester account. He splits the base down in two, as we've seen for the past 3 attacks. He funnels his heroes into a section of the base that has high value targets, as you can see. He funnels on the opposite side with a baby dragon, and then once his heroes have done an excellent job in funneling and getting down those high value targets that can take down his dragons, that's when he sends his dragons in. And because he's done such an A+ job in funneling on the right, funneling on the left with his heroes, he freezes that single target Inferno. That's a big mistake that I see a lot of players make. They just let that single target Inferno roast through their Barbarian King, and look at that Barbarian King, he's going to get a ton more, but sends in his RC to get that single target Inferno and then take down that scatter shot, and then in come the dragons. I've been putting the order that each player has been putting their loons, dragons, dragon riders, and Grand Warden in. It's a little different for each player. I like doing things the same way every time for the rote memory purposes of it. I do that with my Super Bowlers. I put the exact same troops in the exact same order pretty much every time, unless a base requires something just a tad bit different. This is also a perfect attack to show you what only one clone spell will do. I'm not sure if you noticed a little bit earlier in this attack, but he actually used a clone spell to clone earlier, and look at all those balloons. From that one clone spell, he was able to get a complete horde, a complete army of loons that are just tracking in front of his dragon riders and just completely obliterating everything that's in their path. So definitely practice with it, because 2 or 3 clones is not always necessary. Now in some cases, if you're going for high value targets that have a lot of HP that will take more than just maybe 3 or 4 loons to take down, such as Infernos, such as scatter shots, such as Expos, then using 2 or even 3 clone spells is totally worth it. But in that case, he had a couple archer towers, he had that single target Inferno right there behind the town hall. He saw no reason to use that second clone in that space. This next clone Hydra attacks by Brian in the Good Guys, and look at all that value. I mean, look at it. There are Expos in there, there are scatter shots in there, there are Inferno towers in there. He cuts the base in half, funnels in his dragons into that one section, sends his heroes down the side, has that late Blimp and late Warden Tome. I mean, we're following the exact same pattern every time. Pretty much looks the same every time. Once his Blimp gets in the middle, again, he holds on to it, and then he puts his pre-rage down, puts his clone spells down, and then just completely smashes and obliterates the core of this base. Pretty much every clone Hydra attack is going to look exactly like this. In this case, he actually used 3 clone spells, and I would say that it definitely called for it, with so many things in the middle that could have done damage. He does get a little lucky with this, because remember at the very beginning, whenever I said what were the things that could actually stop this attack, that could actually destroy this attack, and one of the things was if you left up high damage items in the center, then they would just slowly pick off your dragons, and eventually they'd kill your queen or your RC, which are coming up the backside. And again, remember, your queen is likely going to be the one that finishes the attack. And in fact, in 95% of attacks like this with Clone Hydra that works, that is the case. The queen is typically always up. A lot of the time the RC is up as well, so you want to do the best that you can to try to keep the RC, try to keep the queen alive as long as possible throughout the raid. And as you can see here, the queen stayed up. She barely stays up. If she had gone down to that cannon, it would not have worked. And the beautiful thing at Town Hall 14 is we have that lovely, beautiful unicorn to heal our queen back up to full health whenever she starts to get low. So yes, a little luck, but still a beautiful attack. Absolutely beautiful attack, Brian. Did it wonderfully. Put all the loons, the clones in the middle, follow the steps, follow the pattern. Great attack. This last attack is actually by Swizz, and this actually took place in the Crystal to Join 100 Win War. Actually just did a recap video on that. If you have not watched that, go watch it. Ton of fun. had some Magic Wet Carl moments, so enough said. Go watch it if that's something that you actually want to watch. But again, we're going to make that funnel. We're going to put our king and our queen down on one side, he actually uses an Electro Dragon on the other side to try to keep his dragons going up the middle. You're going to have that late Blimp, the late Warden Tome. Again, we're following the same exact pattern every single time. And earlier in the raid, I showed you all of that juicy defenses that were all right there. And look at those loons. Look at those loons. They completely wipe out everything that's around it. Not only getting scatter shots, but getting down Expos, getting down Teslas. It's absolutely beautiful. Remember, again, at this point, you're going to have a few dragons that are left up, and this is where you use your freezes. If you have any leftover rage, if you have any leftover invis spells, use them accordingly, but watch your queen. See that Expo right there? That Expo is on ground. That Expo could have ended this raid in a heartbeat. Could have ended it. That single target Inferno would have just taken everything else out because there is that gold storage that's right beside it, but instead, able to take everything down. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for some more OP videos from the Class Tips YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.